Hello, welcome to our podcast. We are Jorge, Angelo, Brenda, and Valeria, and in this episode, we are going to interview two people with some questions about multiculturalism. We hope they can give us interesting points of view because of their cultural background. Throughout this episode, we'll unravel the mysteries of multiculturalism, examining how different communities coexist and collaborate in an increasingly globalized world. We will discover how the voices of our guests enrich the cultural landscape, challenging prejudices and building bridges of understanding.
Thank you, George, for that presentation. So, as you know, today we're going to be interviewing two people here in our podcast. Firstly, we have Santiago Gutierrez, a 17-year-old Mexico-Colombian guy. Obviously, both parents Colombian. They migrated from Colombia for having better opportunities here at Mexico. And he will tell us about the feeling that he has as a person with a dual nationality, what he thinks of his roots, and how he sees the current war situation. Having Colombian parents and they traveling to Mexico, you being having like double nationality also. Do you think that helped shaping your understanding of multiculturalism?
I think it does. I think it does in a great matter. Since yeah, for example, in my home, in my house, I have a really Colombian culture. For example, my mom, when she makes the food and cooks, she commonly cooks or normally cooks Colombian dishes. Also, like she also for breakfast, for example, she commonly makes arepas and everything. And I think that food is part of our culture. That's part of our identity, and that I think that that's really important. Also, like I have this multicultural shape since I was like a baby, because I have the whole my whole life I have like mm, have touch or keep in touch with like Mexican people since my kindergarten teachers and also my friends are Mexican. So yeah, I think that it helped a lot to shape my multicultural identity. But also like not just that, like my other experiences have also helped to shape this multicultural identity. And in in my comprehension of multiculturalism, it has also helped a lot. Like for example, in this kind of classes in multicultural things, I think that I have improved a lot since I have this both cultures in myself, and that's part of a multicultural person.
Ana is a Mexican girl who lived in Mexico for the first 15 years of her life while studying elementary and middle school. She moved to Canada at 15 years old to continue with her studies after she finished middle school at Colegio Carol Bor in Mexico. She has lived in Canada since then. As she has been there for more than 3 years, her nationality has also become Canadian. She has gotten to know a lot of people from around the world while studying at schools who accept and have programs for international students in different states of Canada. She also lived with different host families who helped her to adapt and understand Canadian culture. She's currently visiting her family and friends in Mexico, but she's planning to get back and start university in Vancouver starting September.
So the first one is what are the main cultural differences between Mexico and Canada? So the first one would be that in Mexico, when you're about to eat and when you finish, you like say something, and in here they don't. You just eat and you finish and you leave. So yes. What else? Okay, when you go into someone's house, you need to take off your shoes when you're in Canada. Like it's out of respect, and that's everywhere. So like if you go to a party, you also have to be without shoes if it's into the house. And then obviously we don't do that in Mexico. Um, what else? They're actually everywhere you go and everything, someone's gonna say hi to you, even if they have no idea who you are. Um, and then they'll always like offer to help and they'll try. They may not be able to, but they'll try. Uh, I think that's the main ones. And like our eating schedules, they're super different because our main meal in Mexico would be lunch, and then here the main meal is dinner. So
Okay, so like we have the privilege of hearing the answers from our guests and how they shape their identities, and we learn and empathize with the stories shared by them also. And I don't know, by talking by myself, multiculturalism is not just about like acquiring knowledge or becoming like culturally aware. It's about something much deeper. It's about like understanding that every culture has a story to tell, a unique perspective also to offer, and some richness that enriches like our globe, our world. And like cultural identity is not a like static concept, and it has a deeper meaning that plays like a big role and how we perceive like ourselves and other people. And cultural identity is not like where we come from, is like a profound influence on how we navigate the world. I don't know, Jorge, what do you think about it?
I think that depending on your perspective, context, and cultural background, you can have different meaning or interpretations for multiculturalism. But in general, is recognizing the value and the diversity of different groups and cultures, learning of them, and coexisting, seeing them as equals, recognizing that they have all the right to be in your country as you. Also, I learned this because I have an experience living away from my region, and I think that it's important learning and uh, know the value that have other cultures in your region. I don't know what you, Vale, think.
Well, I think multiculturalism is about respecting and including many different cultures, as well as being open to having other cultures living in the same place. There are many different cultures in the world, and like learning about them is an essential part of multiculturalism, as well as becoming more inclusive. I don't know what you think, Brenda.
Yes, I believe multiculturalism isn't just about like being in the same place as people from other nationalities, but it's about treating them equally and having the same opportunities for everyone, even if you're living in a country that it's not like where you were born, because at the end we're like all those citizens of the world, and we should be treated with respect no matter what. And
By listening to different perspectives, we realize the impact cultures have, as well as many manners and behaviors that change depending on the culture. We were impressed by the cultural differences we have with people with a different origin, as well as the impact these differences have when living in another country. Thank you for listening to this episode of our podcast. We'll see you next time.